Hello, everyone. It's the 29th of December 2021, and I think this is a really important interview because we're going to understand what life is like in Lithuania. I'm speaking to Tania O'Sullivan. She has four children. One of them is 7 months old. Her eldest is 21 years old. She originally grew up in London, then moved to Cork, and 6 years ago she moved to Lithuania, and she's in the Vilnius region. She was a medical student on a 6-year program, and life has become very difficult because of the issue with vaccine passports. We're not going to get into the issue of whether or not you want to get vaccinated. It's purely about what life is like with a passport, because I don't think people truly understand. You came into one of our regional rep meetings, which we hold every Tuesday, and everyone wanted to talk to you and ask you questions. We also had a solicitor and his wife from Dublin come into one of our regional rep meetings on a Tuesday as well. And they explained that life is really difficult. It's really different when vaccine passports come in. It changes society, it changes culture. And the solicitor said, you can queue for a coffee inside a coffee shop. He can queue, but he's not allowed to sit down and drink it because he's unvaccinated. So this vaccine passport issue is massive in places like Ireland and Lithuania. And I don't think we completely understand or really got a grasp. I don't think the media in this country have really reflected what's going on in these countries. So what I would like to do is to ask you a few questions, if that's okay, so people can understand what could be coming. We've seen it more in Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland, less so in England, but it's coming, it's creeping in. So thank you very much for talking to me. So can you just really try and summarize, because we're going to be talking about quite a lot of things. You mentioned something about Lidl, which was really fascinating, about how Lidl introduced vaccine passports, but saw a drop in profit, so then they got rid of them. So those that kind of details are fascinating. And for the businesses coming onto our directory here at against-vaccinepassports.com, I would really urge them to do it now. A statement that you make in joining this directory is something like putting out a post on Facebook or Twitter. It's your position at this moment in December 2021. If they then bring in vaccine passports, there's nothing illegal about you stating your position. You will never be in trouble for stating your position. So we've got to be very clear about the legal situation. And we've got regional reps going out all over the UK, talking to businesses, finding out what their concerns might be and whether or not they want to join against vaccinepassports.com. It's really, really growing fast. Today, on the 29th of December, we've got 800 businesses. And anyone who goes onto our search will find pubs, hotels, vets, estate agents, all sorts on the directory. So thank you very much, Tania, for joining us. Describe, you said it came in very quickly, which is very interesting. How has it changed society and how has it restricted your life?
Well, it came in quickly in so much. It came in at the beginning of the year. I think it was for entertainment. So you think that that's okay, so you accept it if, you want to go to a nightclub or a bar. You think it doesn't
beginning
affect
of 2020?
The beginning of this year. Yeah. So they brought it in the beginning of this year. I think after the one of the lockdowns. There's been so many, I lose track. So you think that this is okay, I won't go to the bar, that's fine. So in the summer there wasn't any. They got rid of it. They didn't need it. And then in September it returned again. Again for entertainment, but also to study. So they brought it in the universities. So you can imagine how it is. There was queues of students queuing up to show their identity documents or their negative tests, or that they had been exposed to COVID in the past to get into the university. And then apparently within the university, to get into a lecture hall, you show it again, which is quite bizarre. I personally think that's, ridiculous. So then it gradually escalated to you couldn't go to the shop. So you couldn't go to, let's say, into a shopping centre. And then you couldn't go into a supermarket that was more than 1,400 square meters. So you couldn't go into a shopping centre. So as you mentioned, Lidl they just said any shop can do this. That the government will let any shop do this. They won't restrict. If all the food shops, let's say, wanted only people with they call it an opportunity passport, quite oddly. To enter a food shop, that's fine, they can do it. Now, Lidl chose to do it. I was quite upset, but other shops didn't choose to do that, thankfully. So you could access food, but I mean, like that, you have to think about what they did. The government actively allowed people not to be able to buy essential goods without having a vaccine passport.
This is massive. We just don't understand this. One quick question. When you have your vaccine passport, are they always on a mobile, or do some people take printed off paper?
You can, I believe, go and get a piece of printed off paper. I know that people use negative tests, or they use, if they've gone to get their antibodies tested, they're getting rid of that. You could test your antibodies, that they would bring their ID and their antibody test, and they would present that to a security guard.
Is it always security guards, or some of them got machines that you can just kind of put your QR code?
They do have machines, I believe, yes, but there's always a security guard standing beside the machine. So, you know, it's quite bizarre.
It is bizarre, and it is a world that it feels like a dream, but we're here to talk about it because we need to be brave and we need to understand what's happening in Lithuania. And it's not the only country in Europe, like I said, it's happening everywhere. So can you talk about this issue of the antibody test? So it's interesting how you've got the options, haven't you, of the antibody test and the PCRs and the vaccine. So what's happened with that? What can you... It must be, and the other thing I need to ask you is, how do you know what shops are going to be okay? Because you could drive somewhere, you're in a rural area, you could drive somewhere, think they're going to be okay and let you in, and then find out they've changed their policy or you can't go into. How do you all communicate with each other? How do you know which shops are going to be okay and which aren't?
Well, the closest shop to me, they announced on the television, this particular chain, that they would let people in, regardless. There was a rule that I think it's 25 or 30 square meters per customer has to be adhered to. So you get queues. So, I mean, like, let's say today it's -10. So it's not that cold in comparison to how cold it could be. But, you know, you have to imagine what this is like. And this is the only shop, so you can have a vaccine passport or not have a vaccine passport. There's no shop for many miles around. So, you know, people end up queuing up outside, little old ladies, you know, waiting in the freezing cold to go into a supermarket or a pharmacy.
And so it's -10. If you don't have a vaccine passport, there's only this rule, so it means you often have to queue. I'm sure the elderly are probably struggling, like you say, the weak, vulnerable, queuing in the cold isn't great. The security guards, are they having to take on more staff then to deal with this, all of these shops? I mean, I can't imagine a small shop hiring a security guard. Is that what's happening?
Well, generally what happens is, let's say they would have had a security guard. In the shops you're allowed to go into, they leave out enough baskets, or a shopping trolley. So you have to take a basket or a shopping trolley, and that's how they measure the flow of people coming in and out. So you wait for your basket and then off you go. So that's how they're doing it. I do believe, I did read that larger supermarkets and shopping centres were having to hire extra staff to, you know, control the flows of people coming in and out, to check their passports. Other shops, you don't know. You're allowed to go to an animal feed shop, a pet shop, but you don't know. Either they put a sign on the door saying you need this opportunity pass, or when you go into the shop, it's at the counter. So you've gone around, got, you know, your cat and your dog food, and then you realise you're not allowed to pay for it. So, you know, put them down and leave. So it would have been like, as you say, what you're doing, like, I would have had to have driven 30 kilometres to get to buy like the usual pet food that I wanted, and I got in there and I couldn't buy it. So I had to search around for somewhere that I could go and buy pet food.
You can buy online. Are more people doing that? Can you order from markets to deliver?
You can, but you know, it takes a long time now. The delivery services, especially in, you know, like in rural Lithuania, you know, it's sporadic, so you can wait a long time for your delivery. But the good thing at the moment, we're allowed into markets, and they've got good markets here, you know, so that's really helpful.
Are they indoor markets or outdoor markets? Obviously, it's so
outdoor.
Indoor.
They're outdoor, so you know, I think that's why you're allowed to go into them, because they're outdoor. But I would imagine that maybe I don't know if they will put some restrictions on that now as well, you know, because they know that people, you know, can go there and do their, you know, well, some of their shopping and code shopping and the like.
So what's interesting then is the government only insists you use vaccine passports if you're over a certain size. So if you are over a certain size and you don't want to enforce vaccine passports, what's the fear? Well, how is it policed? Are you fined? What are the concerns? Has anyone been in trouble? We've interviewed Anna Redfern from Swansea Cinema and Co. because she wouldn't enforce vaccine passports. What happens if you're supposed to enforce vaccine passports and you don't? What's repercussions?
Now, I haven't heard anything about this. I mean, the only thing that I read was, you know, that there was, you know, people were saying they weren't being checked, and that they were going to, you know, employ these people that would go and check that they were, you know, keeping up with the rules. I do know that there was a pizzeria in the north of the country, and he said he wouldn't check. He just wouldn't check anyone. Anyone could come, you know, everyone was welcome, and he did get fined. But he did tell everybody that he was doing this because he didn't believe in it. And I do believe that he was fined multiple times. So now he can only do like takeaway, you know, so he won't take, he will serve everyone via takeaway.
He's insisted that he will serve everyone. He's been fined, but he's only doing takeaway now because he refuses to enforce these vaccine passports.
Yeah.
Is it a big issue, or most people got vaccine passports, or is there a lot of anger and upset on social media, for example, or is it reflected in the mainstream media in Lithuania? Any kind of
the mainstream media? Well, the mainstream media here is appalling. I mean, it's nothing in comparison to, you know, your mainstream media. The way they speak about people, it's very derogatory. It's very damning of, you know, having another opinion as to what the government is telling you to do. And actually, the government here as well. It's like watching a car crash, and they're very derogatory. I don't think it's normal, as far as I've been told, that, you know, they're behaving like this, but the way they speak about people and to people, I'd never taken any notice really until this all happened of, you know, Lithuanian politics. Why would I? You know, it didn't really affect me. And then when I started listening, I was shocked by what I was hearing. And, you know, that's what turns me off. And I thought, I'm just going to take myself outside of it. I don't want to be part of it. I can see there's something strange going on. So I'm just going to remove myself from it because, you know.
Do you have alternatives? So to have any kind of new political parties, it's an opportunity for new media and new government. Do you have any strong ones creating communities where you can get some real information?
There is new media. There's a newspaper that's been launched, and you do have opposition. You do have, you know, good politicians who are speaking out. But, you know, obviously they're vilified, like they are everywhere, you know, that they're just, you know, like crazy, and, you know, the mainstream media and even the government are just, you know, like vilifying them. So it was I found quite inspiring. It was the head of the Lithuanian Bar Association. He's spoken out very well, very elegantly. But, of course, you know, it's terrible how people are, that, you know, just because you have an opinion that you are, you know, discredited by the media, by the government. So it's the same everywhere, though. I do realise this. It's not just
because you haven't got a vaccine passport. You had to stall your education as a medical student. So you said it was a 6-year program, I believe. And what's happened? You just cannot go to university if you don't have a vaccine passport. They did give you other options. Describe those.
They gave students the option of taking a year off. So they gave you an option of taking 1 year off. They gave an extended time where they let you test every 10 days with a quick test. But then in November, they removed this option. So from December 1st, all students had to have this or pay €200 a week. I think it works out at for a PCR test.
And you are going to go back, or I mean,
I'm lucky that I'm lucky I have a baby. He's lovely, and I can take that opportunity now to take the maternity leave for 2 years if I need it. I understand.
I can ask you something. Like, what if you needed baby milk? I used to run out of baby milk, and you went to the shop. I just need baby milk. My phone's run out of battery, and I don't have the paperwork. Can I get some baby milk? Would the security guard let you in? Would somebody get it for you? Could you ask somebody in the queue to get it for you, and you could wait outside?
I've asked them. I've waited outside the shop and asked them, can they show me a pot, because I needed to buy a pot and I wanted to see what it looked like, and they actually did this. I don't care, I needed it. So with the baby food, that was one thing that was terrible. I needed lactose-free baby milk, and you can't buy it in the supermarkets usually, only big ones, and they don't have it in the pharmacies. So yes, I did have to get somebody who had a vaccine passport to bulk buy me baby food, and I have to make sure that I always have 2. So so it's always there. So I know when I have to stock up. It's crazy, isn't it, that you have to do such ridiculous things? But I just don't agree with them, and I'm not, it's just bizarre. It's weird. I hadn't actually seen it. I went to one of the rallies in the city, and I hadn't seen how this was working. And when I just seen all of these people swamping the security guard, trying to get into a shopping centre or into McDonald's, and he was just surrounded by people, and they're all trying to scan whatever device he was holding. I don't know if it was his phone or another one. And I was just like, it's just crazy. And,
it's happening all over Europe. Can I just ask you, do you think this AVP directory would be useful for you? Had it been established before this came in?
Yes, because, as you say, when it came to, if like I said, I would go and stand on the street and stand outside. There's no law against somebody, offering you their service on the street. So, even in like the small food shops, the grocery shops, things like this, like, that would have been helpful. That you can go there and they're not, you're not going to go all that way and they say, oh, I'm really sorry, go away. So from this perspective, yes. And also, even if it was, I found I couldn't buy baby clothes as easily, even if it was like, a shop that sold it, things that I needed, or you could just phone them and say, is it okay if I pop down? I know it sounds really weird and you wouldn't normally do that, but you wouldn't normally be locked out of shops if you didn't show your papers. It's not normal. So yes, it would have really helped.
Well, that's good to know, and hopefully that encourages people to think this sounds horrific. How are we going to be prepared? Do people think it's temporary?
I think at the beginning they did, and I think everybody, everyone wants to live their life. So everybody who, they didn't all run out and get vaccinated here. That's why it became so strict. But lots of people did. They wanted to go on holiday. They were sick of being locked up, so they went and they did this because the government promised them normality. The government promised, you know, it's the same. Your children won't be affected. It's just for you. You know, it's the same rhetoric everywhere. They're saying the same thing. And people really, I genuinely don't think that we should be screaming and shouting at people who are going along with this. Because at the end of the day, people just want a normal life, and they believe what they're being told, and they believe they're doing the right thing. But I didn't believe this. I thought it was bizarre, and I don't understand. If you put so much effort into something, if you put so much effort into changing the law, it's not just going to run away. You know, it's not going to go anywhere. I think that, you know, they seem to, you know, it makes no difference to public health. So why would you put so much effort into this just for, you know, one wave? You know, it doesn't make sense. And the more you read and the more you see, the more you put the jigsaw together, you get a picture of what, you know, it's
and not everyone has time to do that. I mean, they'll rely on those trusted media, legacy media brands that have been in their life for a long time, and think the government and the media are guiding them through a temporary situation and life will go back to normal, and they're being good citizens and doing what they're told in a democratically elected government. What I would say is that pizzeria guy, I won't enforce vaccine passports, I'll do takeaways. It's very similar to our Anna Redfern and Swansea Cinema and Co. But let's not make these people alone. You know, we need lots of them to hold the line, and it becomes difficult for the government to enforce. So you've really helped us to see how important this directory is, and I really cannot thank you enough. Just before we finish, is there anything else I haven't covered you think is important for us to understand and know about if vaccine passports come to the UK in the way they are in Lithuania?
Yes, I mean, as I said to you, like I joined a student movement here, and I think it's really important that, especially for, you know, like I'm older but younger students, you know, they may have, you know, like feel scared or they don't want to speak up. You know, it's not to do that. There's lots of support there for younger people. I mean, they can contact me, or, you know, I can put them in. We talk to students all over Europe, and it's really encouraging to see, you know, really young, strong people. You know, the way they've organised themselves is, you know, it's wonderful, and the way they're talking to other students in other countries, it's wonderful. So it's, you know, we can see it happening now in the UK. I think some universities are starting to enforce this and really speak out, because, you know, the government can't do anything without the people. Always, you know, that's the thing. They can only do it with the support of the people. And if you don't say anything, and, you know, you're too scared to say anything because, well, you're embarrassed, you know, there is no need to be, because there's nothing wrong with having an opinion. Like you said, you can't go to prison for having an opinion and speaking out. And I think that, you know, especially for students, they're younger, you know, that, you know, don't be shy about this. Just
Absolutely. You know. I've had a few people get in touch with me on Twitter about this, how they want to support the younger crowd, the students. And I know we interviewed a teacher who's left over concerns. Damiano Pierioni. I apologise to Damiano if I've pronounced his name wrong, but he's also available and he gave his contact details. So you guys get together and support each other and hold the line. And the insiders I had at the BBC, I said, why don't you just get together? Be a strong team, walk out, you know, strike. When you're with other people, you're stronger. You support each other, you can do it, you know, and that's what we do, these communities. And we're doing it throughout the UK with these different communities. You do it in the student community, you do it in your BBCs and your every, you know, media organisation. If you feel that you can get a group together to hold the line, you know, the bigger the better. So I would like to just share, if you want to, what contact details can you share with the people watching this?
You can email me at irishstudentsunited@gmail.com. It's not just for Irish students. Everyone can email from the UK, wherever. And there's a wonderful group over here. It's the International Students Association of Lithuania, and they're doing really great things. You know, they're starting legal actions, so they can offer a lot of advice to students and encouragement if you see what they're doing. But, you know, they've been really helpful to me. They've really supported me. So, and yeah, if you need any guidance or you want to join with the student association that they started here against the vaccine passes, just contact me. Not a problem.
Thank you. We've got lots of people in Ireland that support us, and it's important for you guys to connect, and the students all around Europe. Thank you ever so much for talking to me. You take care now. All the best. Really appreciate it. Bye.